What is up, you guys? Teller checking in for the recap of UFC Mexico, an event where we profited roughly 3 units on the card. Another profitable night. You guys know I'm excited about that. We are stringing along profitable events, so shout out to everybody that's rolling with me, bringing these units and bringing this money in. Again, that's always a great thing when we're profiting on these events. I hope all you guys profited out there, everyone that's tuned in. You guys know how we're doing it here. We're going to be doing some matchmaking for the main card winners. We'll be starting right off the rip with the main event. We're going to be talking about all 5 official plays that I targeted. Initially, I did have 6 official plays, but one of the fights fell off the card the day of. Obviously, you guys know what we're talking about there. A fight that is supposed to be taking place this upcoming Saturday now between Ricky Tercios and Raul Rosas Jr. Raul Rosas got a case of Montezuma's revenge. He was warned to stick to bottled water. The word on the street is that he was heavily glued to the toilet, and those cheeks were going through some hell there. So, on a more serious note, Brandon Royval goes out there, looks very good, gets the W against Brandon Moreno. Now, I did pick Brandon Moreno to win this fight. I did mention, though, I see some of you guys talking crap about, I was overlooking Royval and whatnot, and you could say that, I guess, if you want, but let's be clear, run the tape back. I said that the betting value was on Royval here. Okay, I clearly said that. I said that I like the value on the over here as well, which would have cashed there if you took the over. And, while we're talking about this fight, I'm sorry, guys. Some of you guys may disagree, but anyone that's saying that Brandon Moreno won this fight, you don't know what you're watching, man. I mean, come on. It was. I'll give it to you that it was somewhat close, but no, you can't jump all the way off the edge and say Moreno won this fight. I believe there's an argument that Royval won 4 of the 5 rounds. I did give Moreno that first round there. The second round was a close round. I think you could have argued Royval won that one, but I had Royval winning rounds 3, 4, and 5. And he was just way more active than Moreno. You know how you could tell Royval was winning this fight? And I know this may be a little bit of a simplistic way to look at it, but when you're in the home country of Brandon Moreno in Mexico City, and you hear the crowd being dead silent for the whole second half of this fight, if not longer, you know that the crowd knows that this fight isn't going the way that they want it to, man. Come on. Royval doesn't have a lot of pop on his shots. I'll give you that. Royval isn't a power puncher, to say the least. I'll say he has some of the worst power I've seen in the game right now, but the volume that he puts, the cardio's looking fresh, the takedown defense looked even better, and we knew that was something he was going to be working on after his last fight against Pantoja, where he was controlled that entire fight, and you heard him barking in the post-fight interview in the cage there. So I was very impressed with what I saw from him. He's 31 years old, and he's definitely still developing his game. And the fight that I want to see next, as we take a look at the top of the flyweight rankings, it's very simple. I made a video about this on Instagram leading up to this fight. The winner of this fight, I wanted to see them fight Amir Albalzi, whether it was Moreno or Royval. I wanted to see the winner versus Amir Albalzi, and it's perfect because you heard Royval calling out Albalzi that he's not going to be able to hold him and whatnot. He was also calling out the champ, but that's a stretch. I don't want to see an immediate rematch there, but he also did mention Amir Albalzi. That's the fight to make, in my opinion, there. And we'll go on to the co-main event, where this was one of my few losses on the card. I had a 4-unit play on Yair Rodriguez. Brian Ortega looked very good, at least after the early onslaught, because he was damaged and this fight was close to being stopped. It wasn't quite there. Ortega was holding strong, looked very good in this fight, but I'll tell you what, man, there was a head kick that Yair threw when Ortega was hurt. Oh man, if he would have closed the distance a little bit more, and if he would have landed that head kick, it would have been brutal. I don't know if you guys remember which one I'm talking about there, but Yair kind of got a little reckless out there, didn't pace himself, and it's almost like he knew it was boom or bust early in this fight. And I will stand corrected here, because I really thought that Yair could have went out there and outstruck him even towards the later rounds. I thought that he could have avoided that sub, and he could have just got the better of those striking exchanges. And I was off on this read here, although it was so close to cashing. I mean, Yair almost got that finish, and then I would have looked sharp with the pick there, but I was wrong on the longevity of this fight playing out, honestly. So let me be clear there. Ortega looked good, and but I'll tell you this much: anyone that's talking about Ortega getting a title shot, I am in disagreement with you. Take a look at the top of this division right now. Brian Ortega shouldn't be fighting Ilia Topuria. He was coming into this fight coming off 2 losses. I know it was against Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez were in a fight where he was injured early on. I understand that. But, he also took a loss to Max Holloway where he was brutally beaten down not too long ago. He hasn't been active enough to get a title shot, in my opinion. And I would love to see him face off with Movsar Evloev. That's a perfect fight, right? Movsar likes to go and use his grappling to kind of stall these guys out and control them. How about you got a guy like Brian Ortega, who's a wizard on the mat? I would love to see that fight play out. And then the other guy you have out there is Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett's a guy that's deserving of a big fight as well after that big knockout. He's a fun fighter. But I think the Movsar versus Brian Ortega fight makes a lot more sense because you guys know if Max Holloway gets the victory over Justin Gaethje, I think he should be next to face off with Ilia Topuria. And if he takes that loss, I would even argue that Volkanovski may be more deserving of an immediate rematch rather than Brian Ortega or Movsar or anyone else in the division for that matter. So that's just what it is right now. That's just the way the division shapes out, in my opinion there. And, again, that was one of the lone losses we took in the card, so things will be getting better here. Daniel Zueller defeats Francisco Prado via unanimous decision. And Daniel Zueller is a very young and promising upcoming fighter. He's very talented. I love the way that he uses his range from the outside. He's well-rounded. That's another thing that's really looking good for him. He's a well-rounded fighter. We saw the grappling skills. I mean, we saw that even in his last fight against Christos Giagos, pulling off the sub. I mean, this dude, he's promising. It's funny. I saw people saying that he is the, excuse me, man, I'm brain. Oh, what's his name? His name's slipping my mind right now. Somebody comment below. The young boxer, Ryan Garcia, Ryan Garcia. I think people are saying he's our Ryan Garcia in the MMA world. I kind of understand it to a degree. He's a good-looking young Mexican fighter, and he's talented. So I guess that's the comparison there. But I'm excited to see what's next from Zueller, and we could do some matchmaking with Zueller here as he is one of the main card winners. And I think there's a couple ways you can go with this, right? He's still ranked all the way back around 49 in the very deep lightweight division. And, you had Manuel Torres getting a victory in this card as well. I do not want to see the fellow countryman facing off. The route that I was going with Daniel Zueller, in fact, is, a matchup with Ludovic Klein. I think Mr. Highlight and Zueller would be a good fight there. Ludovic Klein coming off a win over Ignacio Bahamendez, and he's just been looking very good over the past couple of years. He hasn't taken a loss since 2021, and he's really been working on things. I think that would be a fun fight. So that's one that kind of stood out to me there. Let me know what you guys think about that matchup, and if you guys would like to see anything else. You also have Faraz Zaim, who's coming off a victory on this card. We'll be talking about him in a second, too. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. I mean, that's a fight you could potentially eye there as well. And then we had Yasmin Jeri pretty much styling on Sam Hughes, doing what she wanted. She was a massive favorite there. I did some degenerate stuff, nothing official, but I did throw her in a parlay where I parlayed her with Aaron Pico. That was just something that I was just I wanted to have some action on that Pico fight. I felt very confident he was going to get the W there, so I did a little parlay there. But 2 steep lines. And, Yasmin Jeri, let's talk about what could be next for her here, because there's some fun things that you could do with her, right? This girl is so technical with her striking. She's so technical, and as she continues to be more and more well-rounded, she's so young, she's going to be a fighter that could easily be fighting for the belt down the line. Yasmin Jeri, let's find her real quick. So in the top 50, let's see where she's at. Excuse me here. Where is she? Here she is, ranked at 20. Right below her at 19 on Tapology's worldwide rankings, you have Loma Loni, who's coming off a victory over Bruna Brazil. That's a fight that I think you can do. Striker versus striker, I think that'd be a fun fight. Kind of depends what you want to do with Yasmin here, because you could also match her up with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I think that's a nice little setup fight there, where she takes out a veteran who's on a 4-fight winning streak, but who's very much up there in age, a fighter in Karolina who's fought for the belt, and then you really get Jeri's name starting to get some steam behind it. So it depends what you want to do there. I think the Loma fight may make more sense. I don't know. It depends what you want to do there. I'll lean, I don't know, actually. I wouldn't mind see that Karolina fight. Give her Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Then we had Manuel Torres coming through. I had a 4-unit play on him, grabbed him at -160. Now, I did not see this fight playing out like this necessarily. I thought Duncan was going to have the grappling advantage. I thought we were going to see Manuel Torres land some big shots in the feet and knock Duncan out. Duncan's a fighter that has had suspect striking defense. You guys know we've seen him knocked out before. We've seen him wobbled and barely surviving in certain fights where he did come back. But the striking defense is lacking, and I thought Torres could have went out there and got a knockout. But Torres showing to be well-rounded, and he's just a nasty fighter, man. At 28 years old, this is a very promising fighter representing Mexico. He's a fighter that you're going to want to keep an eye on. Now, we mentioned him before because we were just here in the Tapology's top 50 worldwide rankings. You know, again, I don't want to see him really matched up with Zueller. I don't like that fight. I kind of want to see him versus somebody else. You got Mark Diakase, who's coming off a victory. That doesn't really, I don't know about that one. Rafa Garcia's been doing some things. I don't know if you want to see him versus his fellow countryman there. The fight that I'm actually liking is the Nazim Sadyakov fight. I would like to see him versus Nazim Sadyakov, which Sadyakov, remember, he had a very, very fast start against Borishev. He slowed down a little bit. Borishev came back in that fight, but Nazim looked good, and Nazim hasn't taken a loss in quite a bit. I think that's a fight that would play out very excitingly, and I think that's a fight that we could see made in the near future. So Manuel Torres versus Nazim Sadyakov. All right, so that's all we're going to be talking about as far as matchmaking. And now let's talk. We got a lot more betting action to talk about. Not here though, but Hony Barcelos goes out there and he gets the submission. With the rear naked choke submission over Christian Quinones, and this is something that we definitely talked about. If Hony Barcelos didn't get tagged with the big shot, he was going to be the more complete fighter and could have really had an edge with the grappling, and that's what we saw, and he went down to the mat, and he got that sub there. It was a much-needed victory for Hony Barcelos, and he's still up there in age, and I don't see him making any type of a real run in the bantamweight division, but nice to see him get a W later on in his career as he's been struggling a little bit over the last couple of years. Jesus Aguilar gets the split decision victory. This was big for me here. I had a 1.5 unit play on Aguilar, caught it at plus 135 dog odds. Okay. I thought that Aguilar did enough to get rounds 1 and 2. I felt confident about it. I shouldn't say confident though. You never know what the judges are going to say, but I felt that was the right decision there. And, of course, some people are going to be in disagreement, especially if you had money on Mendonça. And Mendonça had his moments in this fight. I'm not saying it was just like Aguilar walked out there and handled business easily, but I thought that it went the right way, and I was very happy to cash on that underdog play there. All right. And then we go over to Edgar Chairez, where he got the triangle choke over Daniel Lacerda. You guys know I felt very confident. Not only was he going to win this fight, but I had him getting the finish in this fight. But I had him in a 2-team parlay. We'll get to the other leg here in a second. A nice and fat 5-unit play that I got at solid odds. And just right around minus 150 in a 2-team parlay where I just felt so confident, man. Chairez, his grappling is so underrated. He's a solid striker as well, but his grappling's underrated. Lacerda has been finished every time that he has stepped into the octagon. And again, you could put his name on the Mount Rushmore of the worst UFC careers of all time. That has to be the last time that we see him in there. And he even had another loss against Chairez in that last fight where it was stopped early. You could argue that was another finish. Six times he was finished in a row in the octagon, never getting his hand raised. So that's tough for Lacerda there. For us, Zaim gets the split decision over Claudio Puelles, but realistically did enough, I think, to edge out every round, 30, 20, 27 there. So, and keep an eye on for us, Zaim. And then this was this was the other L we took. It was a 1.5 unit play I took on Denise Bendar, caught it at even odds. Bendar, like we talked about, man, I thought he was going to be a little bit quicker and just a little bit, I thought he would have been a little bit of a overall better fighter. But we saw he made a mistake in the second round and he got subbed with 1 second left. So after winning the first round and he was looking good early on, makes a mistake there. And, that was not a good look for him. And Ronaldo Rodriguez gets the rear naked choke there. That was a 1.5 unit loss. No real damage there. Felipe dos Santos gets the split decision victory over Victor Altamirano. I need you guys to let me know what did you guys think about the decision here. I had Altamirano winning rounds 1 and 2. So I'm curious what you guys thought about that. I was very surprised to see him not get the decision in his own country. Thought that was strange. I was not expecting that. Thought he was going to get the W there. What did you guys think about that fight there? Felipe dos Santos gets that split decision, and I'm sure he's very happy about that. And then this was the other leg that kicked off the night for me. That 5-unit parlay I had was with Muhammad Naimov to defeat Eric Silva, and that fight ends nice and early, so no real stress there. We had the injury on Eric Silva, and Eric Silva is a fighter that I had some question marks. I talked about how he crushed that can on Dana White's Contender Series. But, you know, I was just I had some question marks about him, and Naimov has been looking phenomenal. I caught Edgar Chairez and Naimov at minus 350 each, combined odds minus 153, 5 units on that, and we sat back and we cashed that. And as I said, we profit roughly 3 units on the event, so another profitable night. Comment below how'd you guys do on the card, and I think we'll leave you guys with that, and it's time to go jump into that UFC Vegas 87 card. You guys like this video for me if you guys can. It means a lot to me. Subscribe. Catch me on my social media. Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.